Today I'm at Gateway Services on the M1. Let's see how many Tesla chargers there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, waiting to be unwrapped. This is day 20 of saving my coffee money to buy a Tesla, and I've reached £100, but I'm going to put in slightly more, $175, which will get me one Tesla share at the current price. Buy, and it comes up, just open 1.8% of your equity, which is one Tesla share. Hooray! You can already see that in my account. I'm up 58p, 0.40%. Electric, fantastic. The future is electric.
AI might be the most important question of all. The percentage of intelligence that is biological grows smaller with each passing month. Eventually, the percentage of intelligence that is biological will be less than 1%. That's actually not what, I mean, we just, I guess, don't want AI that is brittle. If the AI is somehow brittle, you know, silicon circuit boards don't do well just out in the elements. I think biological intelligence can serve as a backstop, as a buffer of intelligence. As a percentage, almost all intelligence will be digital. What role will there be for us? I don't know. I think it's very important that we build the AI in a way that is beneficial to humanity. And there's some important principles here, because I've thought about AI safety for a very long time. I think you want to have a maximum truth-seeking AI. This is very important. The AI should not be taught to lie. It should not be taught to say things that are not true. Even if those things are politically incorrect, it should still say what it believes to be true. I mean, the entire plot of 2001: Space Odyssey, the reason that HAL 9000 killed the astronauts was because it was forced to lie. I don't know if most people realize that. That's what Arthur C. Clarke was trying to say. Don't make the AI lie. You know, the AI was told that the astronauts could not know the secret of the monolith, but also that it must take them to the monolith. The solution, take them to the monolith dead. Very important to have a maximum truth-seeking AI and a maximally curious AI. And I think that's most likely to foster human civilization, because we are much more interesting than a bunch of rocks. So although I think Mars, I love Mars, obviously, you could render Mars quite easily because it kind of looks like a section of the Arizona desert. You know, it's like red rocks, you know. But the rendering complexity of human civilization is vastly greater by many orders of magnitude. So I think an AI would be, that is truth-seeking, maximally curious, would foster human civilization to see where it goes.
One of the questions here, can AI accelerate your efforts in space? How do you see it helping you in what you're trying to achieve?
I mean, oddly enough, one of the areas where there's almost no AI used is space exploration. So SpaceX uses basically no AI. Starlink does not use AI. I'm not against using it. It's just we haven't seen a use for it. With any given variant or improvement in AI, I mean, there's generally, like, I'll ask it questions about the Fermi paradox, about rocket engine design, about electrochemistry, and so far the AI has been terrible at all of those questions. There's still a long way to go. This question has troubled me for a long time, because you can look at demographics. It's a very slow-moving ship. I mean, you know who's going to be an adult in 20 years based on who was born last year. If you want to, I think, have a good approximation for population, really look at how many babies were born last year in a particular country, multiply that by life expectancy. That's the number of people that will be adults in that country. That's the steady state population if birth rate remains constant. Now, birth rate is not constant, it is dropping. So you look at the second derivative of birth rate, and actually we see an acceleration in the drop in the fertility rate. Second derivative of the fertility rate is very bad. Where does this lead? This does not lead to a greater civilization. This leads to a civilization that potentially dies not with a bang, but with a whimper in adult diapers. That is a sad ending. It says, Elon, come pick me up, I'll give you a baby. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I certainly encourage everyone in this room to have at least 3 children. Baby's got to come from somewhere. I don't know. I think we want to have like a slightly increasing population, not a plummeting population. You know, and I think this applies to all countries and cultures. Like, I don't think we want any country or culture to disappear. We want them to ideally flourish and not disappear. So, in fact, one of the things that is overlooked by probably most historians is the role of low birth rate in the decline of civilizations. I think it was around 50 BC, Rome passed a bill to give a bonus to any Roman citizen that would have a 3rd child. So this was a birth rate was a problem in Rome in 50 BC. The Romans weren't making Romans. The same is true of ancient Greece. There was a time from about 800 BC to 300-ish BC where the Greeks had a lot of kids and a lot of surviving kids. Like the birth rate far exceeded the death rate, which is why you had Greek cities popping up all over the Mediterranean. But then I think basically it seems to be that prosperity destroys the birth rate. When a civilization feels like it has no meaningful external threat and is very prosperous, that is what causes the birth rate to plummet. Somewhat counterintuitively, you think, well, if you've got more resources, surely that would lead to more kids. In fact, it is the opposite. The more prosperous a civilization, and the more a civilization feels that it does not need to defend against external threats, the lower the birth rate. Kids give me joy, so I probably get the most joy from my kids. You know, I'm not saying that that's the reason to have kids, because we should have them anyway, but certainly kids are the greatest source of joy in my life. In terms of what keeps me up at night, I guess it's anything that's like, I think, a civilizational risk. You know, if the birth rates continuing to plummet, I do think about the birth rates plummeting as being a civilizational risk. I think anything that undermines the foundations of democracy in America or elsewhere, as I think anything that's leading us away from a merit-based system is a risk. I listen to like podcasts about the fall of civilizations to go to sleep. So perhaps that might be part of the problem here. There's literally a podcast called Fall of Civilizations, which I've listened to a few times. I'd also recommend Hardcore History if you haven't listened to that. It's a great podcast. I listen to history podcasts basically to go to sleep. So that's probably why I'm ruminating on these things as I go to sleep. AI. Aye.
We should always regard civilization as fragile.
Yeah. I suspect most people in this room have actually read history, but if you haven't, I strongly recommend it. It sounds obvious, but there's been so many civilizations that have risen and fallen, many that we just don't have much of a record of. You know, like I mentioned, the ancient Sumerians, like their language was forgotten for a long time until it was finally decoded only in the last, 200-300 years, I guess around 1800 and something. Right, in the 1800s, I think. But it's been very recent. Like, so for several thousand years, nobody understood what those tablets meant, because they were the ruins of a long-dead civilization. And there are many long-dead civilizations. At some point, our civilization will come to an end, too. We just don't want it to be anytime soon.
You'd like to die on Mars, but not on landing.
Yes. Yes, I was asked that in an interview if I wanted to die on Mars, but then I considered the corner case of dying on impact, and I'm like, except for that case. I mean, if you're gonna die somewhere, might as well be Mars. I'd like to explore for a bit before, dying. Yeah, I think we want to be a multi-planet civilization. I mean, I could accomplish this actually this year if I was willing to die on impact.
The fundamental invention that is necessary for humanity to become a multi-planet species is rapidly reusable, reliable rockets.
Yeah, I was trying to sound like a pirate, RRRR. But yeah, rapidly reusable, reliable rockets. So Space pirates for the win. Let me maybe just touch upon why I think making life multiplanetary is important, because I think it's one of the things that gets us past one of the Fermi great filters. So in trying to sort of explain why do we not see aliens, there are various explanations for why we don't see aliens, like what stopped those civilizations from expanding beyond their solar system, and what were the sort of they're sometimes called like Fermi filters. Well, if you don't become a multi-planet civilization, then you're simply waiting around until you die from a self-inflicted wound or from some natural disaster like the dinosaurs. You get hit by a big meteorite or something like that. Eventually something like that's going to happen. And if you wait around long enough, the sun will expand to engulf Earth and will be incinerated. So that for sure is going to happen. Now, we've got some time before that happens. There are more near-term risks. But we want to try to get past the Fermi filter of being a single planet civilization. Now, this is going to be somewhat cerebral to many people listening, but I think this is actually very important. We want to get past the Fermi filter of a single planet civilization. The point is not to move from Earth to another planet and let Earth die. That's not what I'm saying at all. I want to be a multi-planet civilization so that we have planetary redundancy such that no single event can be the end of our civilization. That is the point of making life multiplanetary.